And just like that, we're back. Has it been 6 months already? How have you been, mate? Previously, Spidey and his pal, the Green Goblin, caught the attention of Wilson Fisk's Sinister Six, a gang of supervillains who don't like the threat our heroes pose to their chokehold on New York City. But the boys weren't completely outgunned, because not only are they superpowered and super-suited, their costumes took on lives of their own when Otto activated their artificial intelligences, with Harry's suit adapting his dead father's mind, and Pete's imprinting itself with Peter's own psyche. Between battles with the Sinister Six members, the Black Cat, and Mr. Negative, Mary Jane began to lose her cool a little bit over her husband's new hobby, but she trusts him enough to still back him up. Peter's son Richard was taken under the wing of J. Jonah Jameson himself. And investigative reporter Uncle Ben not only uncovered the true identity of a Green Goblin and the hidden history of this universe, but he also pieces together that Peter is Spider-Man, and though he's proud of his boy, he does worry about what Peter's got to lose. Then on Christmas Day we found out that Peter might have already lost. The imprinted Spidey suit has quietly stolen Peter's life, while the real Peter was captured alongside Harry by the next member of the Sinister Six, Kraven, the Hunter. Issue 13, mate, let's crack on. It's the final day of January, and a Spider-Man swings through the streets of New York City. The counterfeit copy of Spider-Man, the Pico suit synonym of Peter Parker that has stolen his life. Or did it? The artificial intelligence system isn't alone up in the sky right now. Peter and Mary Jane's son, Richard, the young Parker boy's taken up the family business in his dad's absence, aided by the high-tech costume. But Peter's been gone for more than a month at this point. What's been happening with his family? How have they been coping? It turns out issue 12's ominous ending wasn't nearly as dark as I'd have thought. The symbiote-like suit has been tasked by Peter himself to protect the family if anything happened to him, and the copy has been doing just that. Or so it claims anyway, do we believe it? Then again, maybe I owe this Pico clone an apology, because even now, it's not trying to replace Peter, it's even talking him up to his son. And until they find out what happened to him, these two are going to have to keep the streets safe in his stead. But exactly where is the spectacular Ultimate Spider-Man? Deep, deep underground in the domain of the mysterious Mole Man, a savage land of monsters that should be long dead, will serve as the hunting ground of the great Kraven, and he's doing all this behind the Kingpin's back. The Hunter intends to win the Sinister Six's little game on the sly, and he's going to have fun doing it by giving his prey a fair chance at survival. The Mole Man scoffs at Kraven's bravado, but he's not the only one intrigued by the game. Mysterio is here, and Fishbowl Ed loves the show. He just wants to watch. I've seen some wild speculation online that Mysterio might be Gwen Stacy, but until more's revealed, I'm going to keep referring to him as a he. Oh hey, Peter's actually in this issue. Nice. And Harry too. They're weaned off of the sedatives and fed heartily for Kraven's hunt because Sergei wants them at their best. But the grim part is, even if they escape the Savage Land, these two are anything but safe. Kraven is a thorough bastard. He's learned everything there is to learn about both his quarries, including the existence of Peter's family. Long-time fans will know, this is where Kraven's made his mistake. Because now, Spidey is pissed. No way is Sergei getting out of this clean. No quips, no jokes. All action. The hunt begins. Abandoned in the middle of a dangerous prehistoric jungle without any of their gear, Harry and Peter don't have a lot of options. After briefly bickering about the danger their families could be in, they decide to push through the brush, find the edge, and sneak out without Kraven even seeing them. But Kraven's not the only hunter in this savage land. Ultimate Peter Parker punches a dinosaur to death. This dude is so cool. Do you want to know what 616 Peter was doing the month that this issue came out? Stress eating. Clever girls, the raptors hunting packs. How we getting out of this one, Spidey? We'll have to wait for next issue to find out. Oh look, Peter still has his wedding ring on. Kraven the Hunter respects the sanctity of marriage more than Joe Quesada. First marriage, then children. We check back in with Richard, who I almost keep calling Ben. And look how cool this shot is. This just might be the thumbnail right here. 2 minutes to midnight, and Richard and the suit are out superheroing in secret, so don't tell his mum. His dad's vanished. He's pretending to be Spider-Man. It's a confusing time for the poor lad. And it looks like it's about to get a whole lot more confusing, because now he's face to face with the all-new, all-Latina Black Cat. I love how much respect they're giving Kraven in this story. He's already shown strength in catching Spidey, cunning in knowing his personal life, and honour in giving Peter and Harry a fair chance to escape. Richard in the Picotech suit teaming up to take over as Spider-Man is a great way to sneak a teenage Spidey into the book, and it's a development I did not see coming. I was fully ready to believe the suit had betrayed Peter last issue. I'd never considered it was just helping the family keep some normalcy while the real Peter was kidnapped. It did seem quite sinister though. Maybe I'll hold off on judgment until we have more of the story. Using the last day of January going into the first day of February is a cheeky way of getting around the real-time issue gimmick of the new Ultimate Universe. So let's dive right back in with issue 14. The new Black Cat crosses Richard's path, eager to avenge her broken dad. But the sins of the father aren't laying on the son, because she stops when Richard unmasks, proving he's too little to be the real wall crawler. Jonah's mentoring seems to be working too, because Richard quickly makes a friend out of Felicia, bonding over their inexperience in a world of costumes and crime. This issue began at midnight, February 1st, and Richard and Felicia have been up all night till dawn, talking of the new lives they've been thrust into. Meanwhile, Ultimate Peter continues to be the coolest iteration of Spider-Man in years. He's tamed a friggin' Velociraptor so he and Harry can cover more ground in Kraven's game. And while Kraven is dangerous, Peter's mind screams the real threat on repeat. The Sinister Six know about his family. Apex predator Kraven the Hunter has already caught up to his prey, and he's packing bullets that can pierce a dinosaur. I'd hate to see what they can do to humans. As if the heroes weren't screwed enough already. The dead dino crushes Harry's leg. It's not looking good for our dynamic duo here. Without his suit, Harry Osborn is just a man, but Peter Parker is so much more. He's got true power, so it's his responsibility to use it to help his friend. Using his spectacular spider sense, Parker becomes the bullseye to keep Kraven busy as Harry runs for the exit. Hey, the first villain that these two took on together was Bullseye. If that isn't poetry, I don't know what is. This savage land is a mysterious place, but it's not nearly as mysterious as its king, the Mole Man. Despite being part of Fisk's Sinister Six, Mole Man offers aid to his enemies in the form of an escape hole. The Mole Man doesn't like Kraven dirtying up his territory, so in his eyes, the quicker the heroes leave, the better. And since Kingpin doesn't know of Sergei's game, this isn't technically a betrayal. Plans within plans are already in motion. Mysterio plays his or her own game, and speaks of a deal between Mysterio and the Mole Man that will soon come to fruition, assuming they can trust each other. A fractured Six is no less sinister. Kraven smells a rat. The Hunter slaughters a tribe of moloids, carving a bloody path to his prey that the Mole Man is furious about. But Kravenoff's prey isn't as helpless as they seem, setting a trap for the Master Hunter with his own bomb collars. Holy hell, Kraven dude. The man has honor, but he doesn't have class, because Sergei stops screwing around. He's pulled a friggin' Gatling gun out on the heroes. Spider sense tingling. Spidey dodges the bullet storm and lures Kraven right where he wants him. It's not a pumpkin bomb, but it'll do. The bomb collars go boom, but Kraven isn't out yet. He is, however, impressed. Been some time since he was actually challenged. He's enjoying this, the sick freak. but Kraven the Hunter has bitten off more than he can chew. Peter quickly gets the upper hand, and though the greatest game is man, Parker isn't playing. This psycho knows about his family. He needs to end this threat right now. He needs to cross the line from hero of the people to menace of the villains. Harry and Kraven both want Peter to finish this for good, but Spider-Man is a hero. He gives Kraven one chance to forget all he knows, to leave this life behind. But after this defeat, the Hunter has no honour left. Harry Osborn is shot dead, slain by the Hunter. Peter bloodies his fist a bit more on Sergei, but he's stopped by a sinister voice calling out. The menacing Mysterio. Fishbowl has their own plans for the Sinister Six, and should Peter murder Kraven here, he'd prove himself worthy of their full, immediate attention. Better to run on home, little spider. Back to your family. If they're still alive, that is. After 2 months in captivity, Peter returns home to Mary Jane with the bone-chilling news. Harry is dead, and their secret identities are compromised. Nowhere is safe. It's time to run. Mate, every single issue of this comic gets better and better. And the twist, mate, Harry Osborn's friggin' dead. No one saw that coming. I thought for sure he'd slowly turn evil, influenced by his AI dad, but they've completely shattered my expectations. That being said, the Sinister Six do rule the world thanks to the Maker, so I wouldn't be surprised if they have ways of keeping Harry alive. Over in The Ultimates, Tony Stark had this healing pod thing, and the Ultimates are underground freedom fighters, so if they've got it, surely the Sinister Six have it. Richard and Felicia becoming friends is nice. I reckon that'll be how the Six keep tabs on Parker while they're on the run. We already know Richard doesn't have many friends, and I think he'll tell her a bit too much, but she'll probably feel bad about telling Kingpin and end up turning hero. Standard Black Cat stuff. There's vague references to a plan Mysterio and Mole Man have. I think we're building towards a Sinister Six civil war, where Fishbowl's gonna try and seize control of Fisk's empire. How Kraven, Negative and the Black Cat fit in, I don't know yet. Oh, and mate, speaking of Mysterio, it really actually might be Gwen, you know. If the Six do have healing technology, that'd explain why she kept her cool at seeing Harry's corpse. Mysterio didn't want to fight Spidey if they didn't have to. No one has actually called Mysterio a he, if I remember right, and the timeline seems to fit. Back in December, Gwen didn't know where Harry was, that's why she rung Mary Jane in a panic. This would be 6 days after Harry and Peter were taken and the symbiote replaced Peter. Then, in January, Mole Man finally tells her, even if it's on the sly against Kraven. And Mysterio thanked the Mole Man for letting them in on Kraven's game in this very issue. You did the right thing, and I will not forget it. It fits together currently anyway. Now I've got to wait another month. Great. Oh wow, quick month. Roll on issue 15. Now we're in March, and with Peter's secret identity no longer very secret, the Parker family are on the run, and they've retreated to the Grand Canyons. Peter's still reeling from his buddy Harry's death and the fact that the Sinister Six know all their names, but they don't tell the kids how much danger they're in. Pete and MJ want them to think they're just on a nice family holiday. How long can that go on for though? They've already been out of New York long enough to get friendly with the locals, mostly the alien believers and conspiracy weirdos who want to live off the grid. One such weirdo, David, warns the Parkers to stay away from one specific canyon. Weird stuff actually does go on down there. Disappearances, paranormal activity, that kind of crap. Mary Jane suggests that Peter go and check it out just in case, but that sounds kinda spooky, mate. He probably shouldn't go on his own. Richard remains in contact with the Black Cat Felicia. This is where not being honest with the kids is gonna bite them in the arse. Bet ya this is how the Sinister Six track them down. Their hot and heavy flirty texts get cooled down by bad signal, and that's for the best anyway, because here comes the Spider Dad. Richard's gonna tag along with his dad on this ghost chase, a kind of work experience thing. Even though the real webhead is back, Richard still wears the Picotech symbiote suit. And you know what, that's a wise move considering the caliber of supervillains that are now after the Parker family. Poor little May, however, has no protection. I suppose we know who Peter's favourite kid is. Peter refuses to risk his son's safety, so he makes sure that the artificial intelligence arachnid knows, if it comes down to it, save his family over himself. What a good dad. The two land at the site of the spookiness, and they find what seems to be just an abandoned military base. Nothing too weird, just a huge tower, and oh shit, spider sense! The very ground itself rises up to squash these spiders. Some kind of man made of sand gets Peter in his rough grip and he won't let go. But then this filthy freak makes a grab for the huge tower, and upon contact, it shocks the monster back to dust. What was that thing? Oh god, it's back! What's going on? The thing constantly grabs Spider-Man, attacks the tower, gets surged, and puffs back to nothingness. And again, Jesus Christ, we're caught in a cycle here. What is the Sandman trying to accomplish? Peter, let's say, distracts the Sandman by playing action figure as Richard and the symbiote suit strategize. Sandman always goes for that tower. What is the significance? Richard shuts the tower down, and that in turn shuts down the Sandman. It suddenly stops slapping Spidey about and returns to the form of man. Now man once again, the monster explains his story. 3 years ago, he got caught trespassing on this shady property owned by what seems to be advanced idea mechanics. Not ones to turn away potential test subjects. They transformed him into the sentient Sandman, using the power tower to turn his mind to dust, trapping him here until the spectacular spider dad and lad saved his day. The Sandman's story of getting caught for being too curious mirrors Peter's current predicament. Had he never dreamed of what could have been all those months ago, had he been content with what he already had, he wouldn't now be at risk of losing it. Peter uses one of his off-grid neighbours to slyly contact Uncle Ben. He's not just checking on his father figure, he's trying to get a grip on the situation back home. Ben tells him it's all good for now, but to not return, it's far too risky, and Peter doesn't know the half of it. Wilson Fisk, Wesley, and a couple of bullseye killers pay a visit to the paper to threaten Ben and Jonah, and it's not just with words. The Kingpin flashes some snapshots of what he's been up to this month. Fisk has seen to the murder of every single man named Ben Riley, the duo's pen name that they were using to expose the Kingpin. A taste of what's to come if they don't back off. Do we think our paper pals are going to let themselves be bullied by the Kingpin? We'll have to find out next time. Overall, this month had a bit of a filler episode. The threat was introduced and solved in the same issue, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good. Sandman got into his mess by getting too big for his balls, and the writer used that to parallel Peter biting off more than he can chew going after Fisk and his men. Richard continues to learn the ropes, and I do hope this isn't setting up Peter dying. I like the two of them teaming up. Pretty grim for every Ben Riley on Earth though, isn't it? Maybe the black suit will take on their name in his honour. He can be Benham. Also, no way will Ben and JJ let Kingpin get away with this. Next issue's all about one of my all-time favourite Spidey villains, Mysterio. Hopefully we can finally clear the air on this fishbowl-headed fiend. It's now April. Gwen Stacy Osborn stands at her husband's gravestone, but she does not mourn. She remembers better times, happier times with Harry when the worlds weren't tainted by Kingpins and Kravens. But even back then, a world was never what it seemed, even before the goblin masks and spider suits. Gwen Stacy had secrets. When she was younger, when she lost her mother, her dad had tried to reassure her by telling her to hold on to the illusion that her mother was perfect, and the key word definitely is illusion, because her father has some secrets of his own. After George's death years later, Gwen learns of the man he was in the shadows, and is brought into her birthright through an oath that isn't as cool as the Green Lantern's one. Doesn't even rhyme. Gwen is inducted into the ancient order of Mysterios, a cabal of conspiracy nuts who use a magic amulet to unveil the truth of their universe. And her husband never suspected a thing. Jesus, is there a single universe where Norman Osborn's a good dad? He can sense the fire in Gwen and warns her to not let someone like Harry get in her way. And she actually agrees. Nice thing to say about your husband on your wedding day. But perhaps Harry isn't as clueless as Norman believes. He's definitely got some idea of Gwen's interests. He got her a book a few Christmases ago about the theory that the world they live in is not how it should be. So the maker definitely had this author killed, didn't he? The Order of Mysterios now know this theory to be fact after Gwen discovers files confirming it when Oscorp absorbs Stainstark Industries. But instead of blowing the story fast, Gwen convinces them to take it slow. They need a way to convince the people little by little to show them they can believe in the truth. And then, the perfect delivery system walks into her life. Peter Parker, the Spider-Man. Using Peter's Uncle Ben and Jonah Jameson, she can trickle the truth to the people in a way that wouldn't get tainted by the Maker and Wilson Fisk. All the while, the superheroics of Spider-Man and the Green Goblin give the common man some hope to hold on to, showing them there are people out there willing to do what's right for them. But there's a little snag in the plan when Kraven the Hunter, a fellow member of Wilson Fisk's Sinister Six, captures the dynamic duo early. The Order of Mysterios do what they could to delay Harry and Peter's execution, but all their plans could go up in smoke unless Gwen fully embraces the fishbowl. Kraven's hunt ends in shame, a wild animal cornered, yet shown mercy by the superior predator. Besides Spider-Man's partner in crime, Gwen Stereo casts her spells. Before Kraven could cheat at his own game and blast Harry Osborn, the Mistress of Illusion plants a lie in Peter's mind. Mysterio convinces Peter to run home to his family, leaving his supposedly dead partner behind, and fearing for MJ and the kids, Peter does. But Harry Osborn lives on. Kraven the Hunter almost spoiled decades of plans, so in return, Gwen makes him extinct. And then, following her cult's creed, Gwen reveals some truth to Harry. Now truly united for the first time in their marriage, Harry and Gwen Osborn, the Green Goblin and Mysterio, set out to fix their world and reveal the truth. Dude, those wild theories were true all along. Gwen was Mysterio, Jesus Christ. When Kraven had them tied up and Mysterio tussled Harry's hair, that was all planned, mate. The seeds were there the whole time. Wild. I know it's early, I already prefer this to the original Ultimate Mysterio. That was boring, it was literally 616 Quentin Beck again using some stupid robot. At least this is fresh. Something funny is that in this universe, Mysterio does the opposite of what the mainline one does. Instead of illusions and lies, here, the cult of Mysterio help people see the truth. Grim about Kraven dying though, he's cool as hell. Maybe Marvel don't intend on this universe going for long if they're killing off cool villains like Sergei willy-nilly. So, while Spider-Man thinks Harry's dead, the Osborns are going to war. Let's see how that goes for them. Just like Ben's dead wife, it's now May, and Uncle Ben has a very spooky visitor. Harry Osborn, back from the grave. He's appeared before Ben for two reasons. First, he needs a way to contact Peter Parker. And secondly, to warn him that shit is about to get real. At Oscorp, Gwen receives intel on their target from fellow Mysterio, Robbie Robertson. How deep does the fishbowl go? But their business concludes early because there's another appointment, and with the next guest, one thing you don't want him to do is wait. Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime, and his ever-loyal stooge, Wesley. Fisk tells Gwen that her husband's death is to have no effect on their business arrangement. The world can't stop running because Harry Osborn's dead. No wonder Fisk was friends with Norman, Jesus. Wilson leaves Wesley to the details, but Fisk shouldn't believe everything he sees. Wesley is also a Mysterio. He's been manipulating the Sinister Six from within regarding the sudden disappearance of Kraven, but now It's once again Gwen's turn with the magic amulet. Little do the rest of the conspiracy cabal know Gwen's true allegiances now lie with the Green Goblin. I think. It's hard to tell. Hell, am I a Mysterio too? Are you? Meanwhile, Harry returns to the lab where Otto puts the finishing touches on the new and improved Goblin armour. Otto apparently now also knows Peter's identity because it's his job to guard the Parker apartment. Otto leaves, but Harry still isn't alone. Misery, misery, misery. That's what Harry chooses by reactivating the suit's artificial intelligence, the computer simulation of his dead father, Norman. And holy shit, this thing hates him. It berates him for losing, for being tricked by Gwen. My god. Let me try and crack out my best Willem Dafoe impression for this bit. I am tired of being ashamed of you. Do you hear me, son? I'm weary of this shame that haunts me even after my death. It's time to prove yourself, once and for all. Goblin and Mysterio have a hell of a time assaulting a bomb factory owned by Mr. Negative, their first strike against the remaining Sinister Five. Illusions turn demon against demon as the Goblin rescues the captive workers. It's cool actually seeing a heroic Mysterio instead of one just bullshitting heroism for fame. But even as Harry saves the innocent, his dad talks raw shit. At least Harry does stand up for himself for once, telling it to shut up. Harry has been fighting crime with Peter Parker for months, and so he's gone soft. Meanwhile, Gwen knows the monsters they're going to war with and doesn't mess around. Gwen blows the base sky high and Harry is furious. But Mysterio sticks to her act, telling Harry that if they're gonna have any hope of winning this fight, they'll have to do whatever they need to do to win. It's all or nothing, no matter the cost. Harry sheepishly agrees in the moment. But he needs his buddy back to teach Gwen what it really means to be a hero. He summons Peter Parker and the bromance is back on. So Harry really has changed since he started hanging out with good boy Peter, and it looks like Harry's taken what Peter said to heart after the Black Cat incident. We can't be like them. We're supposed to be heroes. We're supposed to be better than that. It's shown the Mysterio cult had at least 5 members, and now we know there's Gwen, Quentin Beck, Robbie, and Wesley. Who could number 5 be? Place your bets now. But for my money, the Shocker. Where's he been for the last 15 issues, dude? Not seen him in ages. I am not yet convinced Gwen is actually on Harry's side. And I defo reckon Kingpin knows about the lies he's been told. Wesley is so up Wilson's ass that even the Mysterio cult wouldn't be able to pull him out. Right mate, let's do it. Final issue for this volume, and alongside Mysterio and Richard, Peter and Harry's dynamic duo is now more of a Fantastic Four. We are, lastly, in June, and it's finally time for Spider-Man to return to New York. After months believing his friend was dead, Peter finally reunites with Harry, and it's nice to see how much he's missed him. Other than MJ, does Peter have any friends of his own? We once saw him as a teenager hanging out with Liz Allen, but as an adult he never mentions any other mates. Hey, Uncle Ben and Jonah have come as well, probably because of the threat that Fisk poses to the two of them. And does Jonah know Peter's secret? He doesn't outright state it, but he does hint that he knows what's really going on. More importantly, Peter tells him that Richard is upset that Peter refuses to bring his son along, so our Fantastic Four is more of a trinity. In fact, Peter's leaving his entire family behind to finally take care of this Fisky business. The first strike went awfully, but now they've got the marauding Mysterio on their side. Nah, they're still boned. And speaking of Mysterio, the rest of the cult are fuming at Gwen's overstepping. The menacing Mysterios have always struck from the shadows, so they're terrified that Gwen's actions are going to expose them to the Kingpin. In a very un-Mysterio move, Gwen struck in broad daylight alongside the Green Goblin. Fisk knows that one of his 6 has betrayed him, and so the Fishbowl Brigade are officially at war. The final Mysterio, this woman who I'm gonna guess is Vanessa Fisk, is the only one to have Gwen's back. And whoever the hell this is, the rest have enough respect for her to let her calm their tempers. Together, like it or not, they are Mysterio, so the Masters of Illusion back Gwen up in the end anyway. It is a bit tense at first between Peter and Harry, but when the Goblin mentions they have to fight the monsters without becoming the monsters themselves, Spidey's happy to see his words have rubbed off on his mate. But as something lame, Goblin and Spidey get back into the swing of things by beating up some of the bad guys in a one single page montage. I'd have loved to see real plots for these bad guys, but I guess not. Shocker come back for a second, Hammerhead gets nailed without any dialogue, and Vermin gets eradicated, no problem. No story. Why have we skipped 3 cool baddies? Before they meet with Mysterio, Spidey checks in on his apartment to find it in a state. Not because the bad guys ransacked it, but because Otto Octavius has been living there. Under Harry's orders, Otto was meant to be watching the house for the Parkers, but he's instead decided the die was cast and he's lived there himself. If Peter feels violated by this, imagine if he found out about 616, Otto and May. But Peter can't stay mad at Harry. He was keeping the Parker home safe, and this whole experience with Kraven has taught Peter that his family's safety is the only way he can continue on as Spider-Man. Uh-oh. Right as we say this, we cut back to the Parker family so you know shit's about to go down. Richard's done a runner because the Black Cat, who he's still texting, claims she's in trouble. Richard's been a lonely kid all his life, remember, so it does make sense for him to rush out to protect her. And have you ever met a teenage lad who wouldn't do anything for some pussy? So Richard in his Picotech symbiote suit snuck aboard the Oscorp private plane alongside Spidey and the Goblin, denying his father's wishes, so it's looking like Richard is this universe's Mayday after all. Back in NYC, Richard finally reunites with the love of his life, Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. But this Romeo and Juliet story turns into Game of Thrones. Richard went for the milk, but only got the honey pot. It was all a setup by the Kingpin. Suddenly surrounded by a squadron of bullseyes, Fisk has Richard right in his big hammy hands, and the mastermind demands the black-suited superhero tell him all there is to know about Spider-Man. Richard is furious at Felicia. How could she betray him like this? Did what they have mean nothing to her? No, she claims. She did care about him, but betrayal is just in her nature. If I'm honest, this volume started out great with the Kraven issues, but went off topic for too long with the rest. I do enjoy the book, but we're really feeling the effect of the once a month gimmick now, aren't we? I think we need either a second title or an annual to flesh the characters out more. We're 18 issues in, and we've barely seen any Mary Jane. After the issues covering Kraven's hunt, we had the filler issue with Sandman that only served to set up Richard learning from his dad. And then we had 2 full issues with barely any of the title character in it. Of course it's important to set up the Mysterio reveal and spend time showing us their side of events, but it was done while giving us 0 actual Spider-Man. I'm not talking shit, like what I'm saying is we actually need more issues quicker. This is still the best current Marvel book, but we need to be seeing more of the main guy. Ironically, this is the opposite problem the original Ultimate Spider-Man had. Bendis took too long to get to the point, while Hickman blows right past all the cool parts. This page right here could have been 3 more stories, but we don't even get any dialogue. There's apparently only 1 more volume until the Maker returns, and then they'll probably relaunch, so I hope Marvel either gets rid of the real-time gimmick or adds another book in for Peter and his family. On the positives though, every villain Hickman does pay attention to is Boss. Kraven was a threat despite his low screen time. The Mysterio twist was fresh and exciting, and now we don't know what to think about the new Black Cat either. Richard using the black suit to be a hero was a take I didn't expect, and so far, it's added a nice father-son aspect to the story. In the first few issues I thought he was getting left behind because his sister May got all the screen time, but this kinda makes up for it. We see Spider-Man fighting bad guys in every comic book, but only here can we see Peter Parker as a family man. It's a good day when my only problem with the story is how I want more, but I do hope the next volume picks up the pace.